piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy New Year, film fans. Welcome to a new year. Welcome to Tuesday's edition. That's Ed, that's Craig, that's Zach, I'm Juan, and this is a new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. Gentlemen, how was your new year?
It was boring, man. I literally just, it was all right, but I literally just rewatched the entire season 1 of Stranger Things.
Ed, it sounds like 2022. It was boring, and you rewatched Stranger Things. Zach, what about you? How was your New Year's?
Hey, 3 days in, and all hell has already broke loose, so it's going to be a good year.
Oh my gosh, Craig,
Man.
save what this conversation save something because it just feels like a repeat of 2022.
Stupid.
I it's been chilling. You know what? My new favorite football team, the Tulane Green Wave, pulled out the Cotton Bowl victory on Monday. You know, I'm super excited. Tulane Green Wave. I was
going to say, probably felt like another December for you. OU being in a bowl game, losing another bowl game, probably felt the same.
What are you talking?
Man,
Hey, let's go back to see when Texas was actually in a bowl game they won.
Like 2 years ago, I think.
I think wasn't it the We're Back versus Georgia? Like,
you know who did win this weekend? It was Dallas won this weekend.
That is good. That is good. No, my New Year's has started off solid, decent. Just been hanging out with the family. So,
family time, new year, new movie. This week, guys, we're talking about Elvis with an IMDb rating of 7.4, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 77%. The Metascore is at 64%, while the Google users have it at 77% as well. With a budget of $85 million this year, it grossed a little over $286 million at the box office, with a theater release of June 24th, 2022. Starring Tom Hanks, Austin Butler, Helen Thompson, written by Baz.
Luhrmann.
There you go, Zach. The life of American icon Elvis Presley from his childhood to become a rock and roll movie star in the 50s while maintaining a complex relationship with his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. If you guys have not seen this movie, I highly recommend go check it out on HBO Max. It is on HBO Max for free if you have an HBO Max subscription. As we always say, just go HBO Max it up.
that is what we say.
That is what we say. If you guys don't know where to find us or locate us on the social media, it's pretty easy. It's always right here. Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Twitter is at Cine-Men405. And the email. Send us in some emails and we will read out some emails on certain big episodes. CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. And you guys know this. We have some great sponsors. We have not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 great sponsors. If you guys want to check them out, they are all over our social media. They are also on our opening poster that you can see every single Monday. In this stint, it's Tuesday. But check them out. Go check out our sponsors and tell them all that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you. But right now, guys, it is time for our favorite segment of the show. It is time for the top 5. Um,
I'm going to be honest. I did not see the message saying we were doing top 5 of 2022.
Well, it's fine. If you guys are out there listening and watching, if you want to play along, just go to your Spotify list and go check out all of the episodes we did in the past, 2022 year, and hang out with us and let us know what your top 5 is.
There's some solid episodes in this, man. There are
some fun episodes. So go back and whether you're on Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, or the Prescribed Films Network, www.prescribedfilms.com. Listen, go back and let's look at some of the episodes. We had some fun episodes. We dedicated the entire year of 2022 to Denzel Washington. You can also watch us live here on Emaswa Productions YouTube channel. So that's where a lot of our shows and stuff have been on. So check us out. Happy New Year, 4K
Happy
Bad
New
Guy.
Year's.
But does anybody have any honorable mentions?
Negative.
Nope.
No honorable mentions. Honestly, my honorable mention is going to be episode 217 from October 30th. It was the library episode when we talked Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. That was a fun episode. The entire episode took a shift into a public library conversation. So if you want to go laugh your ass off about something that we didn't even review, go check it out. It's episode 217, Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers.
Let's just say that conversation was actually a lot more entertaining than the movie. So,
Edward, let's start with you. What's your number 5?
I guess I'm riding your coattails on that. Halloween 4, 217. Still kind of couldn't believe that. I don't know if you've never been to the library before then.
That's the magic of this show. You'll never know, okay? Just leave it at
that. But, yeah, man, it was hilarious. It was just, I don't know. If you call it top-tier comedy, at least for us, I'd say that one is for sure one of our top, tier comedies for us.
Yeah?
But,
Zach?
yeah,
Zach, sir, what's your number 5?
Number 5 is back in January of last year. We ended January with There Will Be Blood, a film that I really thought we were going to have very divisive opinions on. Instead, we had a really good thematic conversation about greed and the character of Daniel Day-Lewis and just kind of that movie's place in film history in the last 10 years or however long it's been. So that was a really fun conversation. So.
Nice. Number 5 for me is going to be episode 200, live from Rodeo Cinema. We talked Independence Day. We talked in front of a small little live audience. The movie was playing in front of us. We had some small technical difficulties, but it was huge. Honestly, huge. We took the podcast on the road. We did a live podcast. How many podcasts out there can honestly say they did that? It was a fun episode. It was a fun experience. I can't wait to do it again. I've been in talks with Radio Cinema to bring us back to do maybe one more sometime this spring. So, other than that, guys, I'm kicking it off high. That's my number 5, episode 200, Independence Day. Craig, what about you? What's number 5 for you?
My number 5 is going to be episode 205.5, bonus series A24. Me and Johnny reviewed High Life.
Oh, that was a fun episode.
It was, I don't think Ed joined us for that one.
No.
You didn't? No. Okay, so it's just me and you, Johnny. I was on an A24 kick right there. I felt like you for a little bit. So,
yeah.
It was the movie itself was weird. We had, some interesting conversations about the choices in the film and some of the directions that they went, but overall it was
the orgasm chair.
Yeah, it was. We skipped past that pretty quick, but overall it was just fun to sit there and talk about Robert Pattinson in an environment that I personally haven't seen him in. So that's my number 5.
Zach, you already went, right?
Yeah, my number 5 is There Will Be Blood.
Oh yeah, that's right. Edward, number 4 for you, sir.
Number 4 for me, I'm going to go ahead and go with episode 203. Nope. I was
Oh,
waiting
no,
for that.
now the episode is going to be damaged forever. All right,
Should have
thanks,
waited.
Ed.
No, man, that was one of my favorites. Loved that. I was really, really waiting for that movie. I was like, man, Jordan Peele can only do better. And I mean, imagery flat knocked it out of the park. I thought it was brilliant. Loved it personally, and I had fun on the episode talking about all kinds of stuff, whether it was the money shot or not. So yeah, episode 203. Nope.
Nice. Number 4 for me is going to be episode 197, Jurassic World Dominion. Just because of how
Pissed off I was.
how much of a bad experience it was. Me and Craig saw people walk out. I passed out a little bit. There was a guy sleeping next to me. Zach was completely, he had
Rage stroking.
He had such a hard on for this movie, and then he was just so let down. And then Edward's over here like applauding it, thought it was the greatest thing ever. And it was just a fun episode. It was a diverse conversation. We had fun with it. We still had fun with it, months later. So episode 197, go check it out. Jurassic World Dominion is my number 4. Edward, number 4 for you.
No,
I mean,
Zach,
I already did.
do you want me to keep count, John?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm used to the little Asian chick in the background saying 4 and stuff.
Okay. Zach, number 4.
Number 4, the first blockbuster we did this year, The Batman, number 183. We were, all 4 of us were just so hyped after seeing that film. Johnny saw it 1,800 times before the episode. I think all of us were just so amazed at what Matt Reeves did with that movie. And I mean, I think all of us can agree that Robert Pattinson proved him wrong. He was a great Batman, and excited to see what goes forward.
It might be the lone DC movie to survive.
Yeah, basically.
Craig, number 4 for you.
So number 4 for me, I'm writing off your coattails, Johnny. Episode 197, Jurassic World Dominion. We saw a guy leave for popcorn and never come back. Like Johnny said, he kind of fell asleep. I was ready to leave about 30 minutes in. And then, we laughed at the episode because Chris Pratt decided to punch a dinosaur in the face. So that's reason enough for me. So that's my number 4.
That was Zach's favorite part, by the way.
No. My favorite part was when the raptor got clotheslined in the chase sequence. I was just like, okay, so this is what we're doing. All right.
Yeah, it's a Fast and Furious meets Jurassic World.
Jesus.
Oh, and then all the locusts at the end, the grasshoppers. Oh. Number 3.
That just brought back all the PTSD for that movie.
Number 3. Edward?
Number 3, episode 213. Signs. Man, Zach made a pick that you weren't even on, my boy.
I was on Signs.
You were?
Yeah.
What was it that you did pick?
Craig wasn't on
there. I know. I was really upset about that, by the way.
But, been wanting to talk about that movie for a while. That's been a dark shadow in my life. So, yeah, Signs, man. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's simple as that.
Nice. Number 3 for me is going to be from May 2nd, episode 191, when we talked Solo. It was one of the last episodes that we did in person with all of each other, and we had a huge tornado cycling over us that day, and we all just kind of rushed the episode and we shagged ass because we thought we were going to Bill Paxton it up. And we thought we were going to meet the extreme. But it was a fun episode. If it seemed rushed, that's why. But
we didn't want to die.
Episode 191, Solo, from May 2nd, earlier this year. So that was number 3. Yeah, there you go.
Number 3 for me is Top Gun Maverick, number 195. I don't care if Avatar is about to beat it. It was the biggest movie of 2022, basically, till the end of the year. Just a fun conversation, a hell of a movie, and just a great time talking about it. So what more can you say?
Number 3 for me is going to be episode 193, Man of Steel. We were able to go back, rewatch a movie that I think we all had a pretty good taste in our mouths from the last time we watched it, but came back to find out that it was really a movie that was underappreciated, even though we all kind of liked it, our initial watch. And just being able to go back and talk about that and talk about where DC should or could go. And then we come to find out that it's all been scrapped.
Yep.
And it just kind of collapsed in on itself. So, but going back and just having that little glimmer of hope that DC was going to right all the wrongs, it was a good episode to talk about.
Twas.
Number 2, Ed.
Number 2, I'm going to go ahead and go with episode 195, Top Gun Maverick. Man, I got to say, I enjoyed the movie a lot more. Tom Cruise or not, I've got to say, Rooster, best part of the movie easily. Made guys want to actually wear mustaches. Not all of them could pull it off, though, so there's that. But yeah, man, wanted to pull 9 Gs after that. So yeah.
Number 2 for me is going to be episode 186, The Godfather. It's the thing that stands out with all these episodes, and I mentioned it, is the topic of conversation, not necessarily the movie, but it was one of those fun conversations that, it was, I think, Craig and Edward's first full-time watch on The Godfather, and it just ended up turning into a really fun conversation about a 3-hour movie that, some people really didn't know how they were going to enjoy it or enjoyed it all. And, some of you guys kind of enjoyed it for what it was. So episode 186, one of my favorite movies of all time. The conversation that I, again, just shared with you guys in general was a fun conversation. So that's my number 2. Zach?
Number 2 is Ed. You already mentioned it, was Signs. Number 213. One of my favorite movies of all time. It was so fun to finally get to talk about this. And a film that I think me, Craig, and Ed definitely grew up on. And it was, I think, your second time full-time watch, Johnny, I believe. So it was kind of fun to see someone that didn't grow up with it kind of experience it and kind of get their input on it. So, number 2 is Signs.
Craig?
Yeah, number 2 for me is going to be episode 189, The Nice Guys. Just being able to talk with you guys about a movie that me and Johnny have kind of had tucked away in our hearts somewhere in there in our Blu-ray collection, that we were able to share with a lot of you guys, listener-wise, that didn't know about it. And you guys kind of emailed in, said you'd never heard of it, never watched it before. It's an underrated comedy with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. So if you haven't watched the movie or you haven't listened to the episode, I highly suggest doing both. It was a fun episode and it's a great movie. So,
Nice.
Ed, number 1.
Number 1 for me is going to be episode 183, The Batman. This was my first time actually going in and watching in a 4DX movie. Wonderful experience. It does not do anything like 3D. It's much better in my opinion. I get headaches from 3D, probably like a lot of you folks out there. So yeah, 4DX is the way to go. However, there were some amazing scenes in that episode, but I don't think any of us were prepared for that good of a film. Especially, some of us were worried about, Pattinson. Some of us were worried, DC, are they putting out good stuff and all that? So we were all pleasantly surprised. Go back
and listen to the episode.
Exactly.
Number 1 for me is going to be episode 182. It was, again, the conversation that shocked everybody, and it was a fun list. Our top 5 plus 5 of 2021. Those are always fun episodes, and those are always fun lists to go through. So like I said, it was from February 28th of 2022, episode 182. Go back, listen to it, and send us some thoughts. Zach, number 1.
Number one, Sweet and Simple. Last week's episode, Denzel Washington, top 5+5. We started the year with The Tragedy at Macbeth and ended it with our top 10 films of his career. It's brand new. Go listen to it. It was awesome to talk about. Easily probably one of the greatest actors still with us. So still working.
Craig, number one for you, sir.
Number one for me, I know it's going to be kind of like what people would assume. It's going to be the Batman. I was so excited.
I thought you were going to say Attack of the Clones or Solo. One of those two.
So Attack of the Clones was a quick episode. We were in and out. There wasn't really anything that we were, the conversation wasn't, anything that stuck out. But I was just so excited to come in and talk about Batman after we watched it, just because it blew away my expectations. We all were just excited to talk about it after we had watched it. And I think we had a pretty big giveaway for it. The top 5 Batman films was our top 5 of that episode. So all around, it was just, I don't remember anything distinctively that we specifically talked about, but I just remember it being a really fun conversation about a really good movie that is probably going to be one of the best of 2022. So,
yeah. Yep. So again, everybody, send us in your top 5 episodes that we covered and we did last year, or top 5 conversations, and we'll read them over an email bag in the next few weeks. But let's get to it today. Before we get started and talk about Elvis, I'm sure we can all just do a quick nod, thoughts and prayers to Jeremy Renner, who had an incident over the weekend. Very sad weekend overall, including last night's Monday Night Football game. So thoughts and prayers to everybody out there who's going through all this negative stuff right now.
I mean, Ken Block as well.
Yeah, man. The snowmobile accident.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on right now. So
we ain't even a weekend yet.
I was about to say, I hope this is not a harbinger of what's coming for this year.
Just kind of going off what Johnny was going towards. Life is short. It's unexpected. You never know when something's going to happen. So, reach out to somebody, tell them you love them, give them a hug if they're right next to you, and let's start off 23 right.
I love you all. Elvis is on HBO Max. Go HBO Max it up because we are digging into Elvis. Zach, we'll start with you. Was this a first-time watch for you, or did you check it out in the theater, or what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
Second time watch. I got to see this in the theater this summer when it was released.
At Rodeo
first
Cinema?
No, at the Warren, actually. We'll get into it, but basically, first time watch, I was impressed with it, and the second time watch, I like it more. So
I agree with Zach. Craig, what about you? First time watch?
It was the first time watch. I wanted to go see it in theater, but wasn't able to. So
just a few short words. What was it like after the movie?
Sad.
Yeah.
I had a little more knowledge of his life. Yeah.
Ed, what about you? A few short words. First time watch?
Full watch, yes.
Yeah.
Partial watches before, but full watch, yes.
Yeah. Few short words.
Slightly exaggerated, iconic, fun.
Guys, this to me, I like the way you started off with, for this being a 2.5, almost 2.5 hour movie. I thought the pacing of this movie was fun. The music throughout the entire film, obviously, not only was it done by Austin Butler, but some of the score and soundtrack was updated for a movie that you don't really get that much. If you see a movie that's based on the 80s, you're going to get an 80s soundtrack mostly. For this movie being based off the 50s and 60s, you got a 50s, 60s feel with the soul and the classical, but you also had some upbeat, newish hip hop kind of feelings with the background score.
Well, not just newish songs, but you had new artists doing renditions of older songs.
Yes, which was, I thought, really, really fun. Let's talk about the big thing is Austin Butler. The dude came out of nowhere, did this movie. At least for me, he came out of nowhere. He did Elvis. Not only did he knock it out of the park with the performances, the singing, the acting, the dude physically did I feel like he physically did the best he could do with Elvis. I don't think anybody else on the planet could have done what he did.
No.
Not as
And
good, no.
If Rami
No.
Malek can win an Oscar for being Freddie Mercury, then I think Austin Butler should win one for portraying Elvis.
And a lot of it's mostly just because the depth he went into of his research, time spent just watching videos, getting to know how he talked, getting to know how he walked, how he did his little gyrations and dances and his playing methods and his singing methods and all that. That's really impressive with Austin Butler and his team because, for a guy like that, I mean, yes, there's still a lot of fans that have seen him, but you've got people that you need to reintroduce him to and introduce him to. And the reintroducers, that's going to be a heavy hitter, and you need to come out swinging. And this one, Mike Tyson came out swinging. So
Yeah.
There was a lot of hype for this movie, and I think there was a lot of hype and a lot of publicity for this movie, but I don't think it got nearly the hype it should have because of maybe, Top Gun Maverick came out a few weeks before. But man, in a world without Top Gun, I think this movie would have been the hit of the summer.
I agree.
Yeah. Because I mean, the clothes that they brought, the narration of Tom Hanks and all that, the accent he used, and just this whole production was spot on, man. You get him as a kid and all that, kind of watching through different acts going on and, kind of, I mean, honestly, areas he shouldn't have been in as a kid, because even back then they were kind of outlawed to a decent degree, footloose, if you will. And then going into, his first act where he's in the pink and the black and how he does that and everybody's kind of making fun of him.
What do you guys think? I know Ed was kind of getting into some of the younger Elvis scenes. Do you guys like how it didn't spend too much time on young Elvis?
Yes.
To me, I thought the pacing of it was was fabulous. It could have really felt like a 2.5, 3-hour movie, but I think the way they put this together with just sprinkling some flashbacks in there, but really focusing on 24-year-old Elvis and older, I thought that was just pretty impressive with the writing and the directing. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I thought the first time I watched it, I'm gonna admit, the first time I watched the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh no, I didn't think I was really gonna like it. It's very in the vein of Baz Luhrmann. It's very glitzy style, pop, flashy, which that is kind of Elvis to an extent, but I like what you said. It's kind of exaggerated a little bit in a certain way.
Yeah.
But once we get to Austin Butler, and the main thing I will say, he steals the show and deservedly so. He deserves all the accolades he's probably going to get for this. The performance sequences really puts you in the mode. Wow, this is probably what it felt like to see Elvis perform when he was younger.
Well, I mean, when he puts that in the pink and black, they're making fun of him and all that, kind of like I was saying. And all of a sudden, he flips and he starts doing his thing, that everybody would come to know. And everybody's like, dude, hold up. What is, he became one of those generational talents, the Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen or something like that.
Let me talk to you guys about something real quick. As much as Austin Butler was phenomenal with as Elvis, and a lot of the screen time is on him, do you guys think? I feel like Tom Hanks.
Go ahead, say it.
Listen. I love Tom Hanks. I did not like him in this.
Really.
He didn't.
Hold on a second. Now, you didn't like the character, or you didn't like him as an actor?
I didn't like him as an actor. When Austin Butler's on screen, he disappears. I don't know who Austin Butler is. I'm seeing Elvis. When I see Tom Hanks walk on screen, I just see Tom Hanks in a fat suit. I couldn't get rid of the Tom Hanks image and see Colonel Parker.
That's what I was going to ask. At the beginning, this feels more like, and even sometimes throughout the movie, this feels more like a Colonel Parker movie than it does an Elvis movie. But do you think if they got somebody else to play Colonel Parker, it would still feel that way? I think Tom Hanks steals the show, but accidentally.
I think that was the whole. I think the intention of this movie was to tell the story, the phenomenon that Elvis became through Colonel Parker's eyes, because it's almost Colonel Sanders, yeah. Colonel Parker, even from the beginning, he's like, I'm going to tell you how I discovered Elvis, or how I got Elvis to become what he is.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing. It's more the promotional value that you actually got Elvis to become what he was. The iconic ways that Elvis had and was going to was from his own kind of creation, essentially. It's just you what he did is gave him more of a world view, Yeah. And I mean, when you think of Elvis, you think of the big popped collar suits, the onesies with the like deep lines in the front with jewels and glamorous, like huge belts, and I mean this E335 guitar.
You guys disagree or agree? Did you like the way Elvis was portrayed with his mama in the movie?
He's a Southern boy.
It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be long, or I agree. Did you guys like it or not like it?
I think it portrays how reserved Elvis initially was, and kind of what he was brought to due to the public and everything. It's not. He wasn't trying to be what he was perceived to be. That's just what he felt whenever he heard music.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of Elvis documentaries, and I know that the relationship between him and his mom was very, very important to him. And when she died, it hit him terrible. And I didn't know that he actually had a brother that died, shortly after being born. So I didn't know that. So I understand like the mother's persistence to protect him and not want him to like stray from what he was meant to be.
How about the casting of the mom or the father or anybody outside the big two, like outside Tom Hanks and Austin Butler? Sometimes when we talk about some of these big Oscar nominated films, it's almost like I can live without some of these characters. But to me, like everybody was put in place pretty good, other than I thought the mom and the father were a little weak as far as side characters go.
I felt like his initial bandmates and B.B. King were really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
the reason I say go ahead.
But yeah, I agree. The mother and father fell a little bit short, but I feel like the surrounding cast around everything else, maybe the people that were at the table kind of questioning.
And in one of the most important scenes of the film, when Elvis loses his mother, he's up in the closet crying with her clothes, and the dad is just like, he needs you, Colonel Parker. Like that to me just felt so generic because I could not believe the dad at all. And I know, I know there's probably a little budget right there. You can't pick everybody good to be the dad, but that scene to me just like was a little unbelievable. Yeah. Just because of some of the cast placing of the mom and the dad. Now, what you guys think of his wife,
Priscilla? That's what I was going to say. Olivia DeJonge, who plays Priscilla, I thought she was great. I just didn't think she had enough screen time, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it didn't build that relationship.
Yeah, it's because we meet her when he goes to Germany, and then she kind of goes in and out, and then she leaves, and then the last scene is the heartbreaking scene in the movie, and then that's really it, Yeah. And so I thought she was excellent as Priscilla. I just wish she had more screen time. So one thing I did not know going into this was they tried to cancel Elvis. That was a real big shock to me way back in the day, which I kind of get, but I knowing what today's world is like.
But what's perfect about bringing that up is that in the movie they don't spend that much time on it. That's one thing I really will say about this movie. Whether it's like they spend time on the important things leading up to his relationship with Colonel Parker. A lot of people might be like, "Oh, this movie didn't have enough Lisa Marie, or this movie didn't have enough of his wife, or this movie didn't have enough of the parents." it wasn't about Elvis and really everybody else. It was about Elvis and Colonel Parker, and then everything else was sprinkled around it. So I really do appreciate how this movie just gives you the meat and potatoes, and then the vegetables are around the side. And it's really just, amazing, because I rewatching it again over the weekend, I was like, man, I think it's gonna be a tough watch, honestly. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it as much as the theater watch, but it kept me intrigued because of how fast that story went from beginning to end. And it really starts with them at the carnival, and then it kind of ends, in the Vegas scene.
Mhm.
I wanted to bring up the Christmas special to you guys. What did you guys think of the Christmas special scene? Where that's really the breaking point for both parties.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that Elvis, by that point, he pretty much had resurrected his career. He was about to do the 1968 TV special, which I think is the Christmas special. Colonel Parker wants him decked out in Christmas gear and sweaters and everything. And Elvis is like, no, this is my career. I want to come back. I want to travel the world, entertain people, and this is how we're going to do it. And for him to walk out in the black suit and the giant Elvis red letters behind him I thought it was a really great scene and really done in a really tension driven way.
Sitting back and looking at it like the Vegas scenes and stuff. The truth about not Colonel Parker not being able to go overseas, and Elvis never go over to like Germany or Japan and doing like a big show like that. Like, man, it's kind of like sitting back and thinking about it. Man, would it have been a good thing or a really, really bad thing if he ever went overseas like that?
Potential on both.
Craig, you said Craig or Ed, one of you guys had mentioned that it was sad. Craig, I think it was you. Kind of describe your feelings on the way the movie was sad for you. Was it just like the way they treated Elvis?
Yeah, it was like I said. He was a reserved Southern boy who really only knew his mother and father, and was put out in this world and was used because Colonel Parker knew what he was, knew that he didn't really have an understanding of the outside world, and kind of used it against him, and the whole the security, and you're not going to be safe outside of the U.S., when it was really him just wanting to keep him at the casino because he had that unlimited line of credit. And it was just him being taken advantage of, when honestly, if he had the right people around him, he probably would have been alive a lot longer. Yeah. He probably would have had more, he was already famous and had a lot of stuff surrounding him, but it just probably could have been the ending of his career probably could have been different if he had the right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got the scene where they did like the 15 cities in 15 days. They wanted, but they mainly wanted to keep him, and that's kind of sad. His last 6 or 7 years was him just being strung out in Vegas,
cage and puppet in a cage.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that scene where he's exposed to pills and he's a little too much on the alcohol, and he exposes Colonel Parker as an alien, and he's trapped in this cage. Zach, I'll start with you. Anybody else can jump in. Do you think that's the scene that wins Austin Butler an Oscar if he wins it?
Yeah, I mean, when he starts screaming like behind the curtain saying "you're fired," it's just there's such a power behind his voice and saying that he's done with his BS and just get out. I want to do my career the way I want to. And you got to remember, the Colonel basically set him up for a 5-year deal of $1 million a year, basically selling his life for 5 years to play in Vegas.
That's not a lot of money.
And so, well,
back then it would be.
Yeah.
But now it's nothing. But yeah, I mean, when it finally breaks, it breaks, and it goes. I go back to saying the word tension. It's tension driven, and it works. What about you, Ed?
I mean, a lot of people nowadays go ahead and like a lot of musical acts or dance acts or magical acts really want that residency, as they call it now, in Vegas. I mean, Britney Spears, Bruno Mars, you've got the Jabberwockies, Celine Dion, a lot of different things right there. Penn and Teller, I think, have had a residency. All kinds of acts. Anyways, now it's a huge thing, but I think he was one of, if not the first one, to get that kind of stay
Deal.
at Vegas deal.
Yeah.
Perfect word. Way before it was even really a true thing.
Well, and
nowadays it's
the hotel,
where,
the international hotel that he performed at, that was like a brand new hotel, and that was like his residency for a very long time. That the hotel doesn't exist anymore, but I think like later in the film, like they're taking down the marquee of Elvis, so I think they're putting the Jackson 5 up or something like that. So it's just a lot of people have gone through probably that hotel in its time.
So that 5 million with inflation after the past 53 years from 1970 to now would be 38 million plus.
That's still not enough compared to.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, especially, his residency would probably be like $500,000 a year, if not more, because of his name, and his iconic career. And just imagine what he would have done after that stage.
Yeah.
So, but nah, man, the outfits, the way he acted, there was cameras would not show this man from the waist down because of how he moved his legs and how he did things. There was so many different things that people would do back then versus now that were just outlawed and like really, really looked down upon or frowned upon, maybe the other way, that he did, and he kind of got out there to the world. That nowadays are very easily common practice that are kind of glanced at and like, okay, they sneezed, kind of thing.
I enjoyed the relationship between him and BB King. I enjoyed that aspect of the movie every time, because everything was, in the, what was that, 60s, early 70s?
50s,
everything
60s,
was segregated, and he was hanging out with BB King in that area. He was signing autographs. People looked at him.
I'm really glad that the movie kind of showed that aspect of Elvis, because there was a lot of rumors and stuff like that back in the day that Elvis just kind of stole like a bunch of different gimmicks and stuff in the past. Which there's some songs that he did probably use and make more famous, but at the end of the day, I do appreciate, and I think Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter, she was like a producer. She was like a naysayer or a co-sayer on what happened, what went in the film, and she said she enjoyed it so much that she watched it like 3 or 4 times.
The whole the family had nothing to do with the movie.
Really,
that they applauded. I mean, after the movie, they really gave their blessing to Austin Butler, saying, he did a very good job of portraying him and what he was like, but they had nothing to do with the movie. This was kind of like its own independent thing.
Nice.
The crazy thing is, we're talking about this movie this Sunday, January the 8th. If Elvis was still alive, he would have been 88 years old.
Elvis's birthday is Sunday.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
How does this stuff happen? I don't know. Who makes this schedule up?
I don't know.
We got to find this guy who puts these things together.
But the crazy thing is like, in retrospect, I mean, everyone knows. You say the name Elvis, you know who he is. The crazy thing is, he has made more money now that he's dead than whenever he was alive, and that's just insane to me.
Well, it's always like that. Michael Jackson did the same thing. Some of the, John Lennon, same thing. It's a lot of and I know this is kind of hard to say, and this is probably a little bad to say, but it's a lot easier to make money when you're dead as a musician than it is when you're alive.
And I was going to say so a couple years ago, it wasn't that long ago, the Presley family now receives a portion of all commission of the Elvises in Vegas. And I thought that was stupid. I was like, you don't, you shouldn't get a commission off of somebody else doing work, but it makes perfect sense now. Like all the Elvises that did weddings in Vegas and everything. Like you said, he was that initial deal in Vegas. He made Vegas almost what it is today. Because
a lot bigger, yeah.
It drew so many people went to Vegas over those 5 years to get Vegas kind of kickstarted. Like, yeah, they had the Strip, they had Vegas, they had the whole kind of thing going, but he made it a show town.
What'd you guys think of, and I'm going to touch on this real quick before we try to get out of here. What'd you guys think of them not really showing Austin Butler as the older, heavier set Elvis? I really did enjoy how the very last scene where he sung Unchained Melody, they used a real life video footage of Elvis Presley instead of trying to put a heavy suit maybe on Austin Butler. What'd you guys think?
I think that was a good decision. I mean, same.
To me, it made it 10 times more emotional.
Yeah.
And maybe that's exactly why they did that, you know.
I mean, in interviews with Austin Butler, he does like the teenage Elvis, the middle age, the popular Elvis, and then like middle age to close to, you know, as we call fat Elvis or towards his death Elvis. He's in there. I mean, right before they cut to the real Elvis, that's Austin Butler, you know, at makeup and everything. So I mean, I think the fact that you can watch this movie and not even see Austin Butler, you actually kind of see Elvis. It's just astounding. And to me, like, I'll admit, I was a naysayer. Like when they first announced him as Elvis, I was like, no, that's not going to work. But I mean, it feels good when they prove you wrong. So,
favorite scene.
Go ahead. Honestly, the first kind of big concert, he goes out in the pink and black suit. Man, you know, when he's getting that first note and he goes, what, you know, that whole initial note, pure genius and pure just talent unleashed, basically.
Some of my favorite. I'll agree with you, Ed. The performance scene when he's out in the pink outfit and everything is astounding. It's a sad scene, but the ending when Priscilla is basically kind of begging him to go to a place where he can relax and decompress and get some help. And it's just, it's sad to know. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what the last conversation they had, but that could be, if that was it, that's truly like heartbreaking. And to know that like he only had like a year or two left of his life. So,
I'm going to pick two right quick. I'll go right through them. The scene where he's up on the Hollywood sign asking his new you know, fellas, if you will, what they think of his career, because it takes a lot of balls, if you ask me, for somebody who's that high and mighty to ask somebody what they think of their career. And then the entire Christmas special or live special that he did, that whole sequence from start to finish, including the shooting of Bobby Kennedy, and there was just phenomenal. So those are my two favorite scenes. Craig, what about you?
My favorite scene is going to be the performance right after he talks to BB King in the baseball field. You know,
where he threatens to get canceled and all that.
Yeah, you can kind of hear the guy doing the thing a couple miles away or whatever, and that sheriff tells him, he's like, "You even move a pinky, we're gonna shut you down." And he holds up that pinky and he does it. It was just like, you know, he kind of at that moment was just like, you know what, I understand what I am now. I understand the power that I hold and who I am. And I don't think he was being rebellious. I think he just kind of understood that he was being taken advantage of.
Yeah. And I agree, going back to what you said, Johnny, about the movie depicting how African-American music really influenced him. A lot of people would think, I know I thought that those were his original songs, but I'm glad that they told the truth and said, no, these were, I'm not going to, you know, like you said, he probably used them and got more recognition out of them. But those were the things the movie tells him. Those were the things that he grew up on, and that's what influenced him. So,
yeah. And in the movie, he's like, he sings it good, but you would make a lot more money off of it if you were to sing it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like, it's not that he straight up just stole it. It's those were his roots. That's what he enjoyed. That was his feel good music, as they said.
Yeah.
So I got a quick question. Have any of the three of y'all ever been to Graceland?
No.
No. I have. I've been to Graceland, and I've seen the grave of his brother. I've seen the house, been in there, took a tour, and it's a really, really cool thing. I mean, it's kind of a decked out Elvis house,
I've heard it's not as big as it looks, though. That's the funny thing.
No, I mean, honestly,
back in the day, obviously it would be a huge house, but now it's like small in comparison.
The closest I've ever been to Graceland was watching Zombieland 2.
Well, I mean, it's really cool because you go down into the basement and you get to see like different things that he did, and where different area, or they've got portrayals of like this area he did this and a picture up on the wall, and this area he talked to this person and a picture of that up on the wall and stuff like that. Little songs playing here and there, and just outfits everywhere and stuff like that. It's a worth wait.
I have one more favorite scene. And I don't know how true it is to the real life, but when he finally gets on stage and he's getting ready for his show, and he's like, I need these girls here to sing this, and they kind of repeat it, and he just goes line after line, really kind of showed how good of a musician he was, and he kind of knew exactly how he wanted it. And going through and watching Bohemian Rhapsody, you kind of had the same thing with Rami Malek, where they're not just singers that are talented, like they fully understood what their music was, how they wanted it to sound, and they could tell anybody and everybody, this is what we're doing for this song, and it's going to be magical.
Yeah.
I think it's the small detail scenes like that makes these movies stand out compared to maybe like comparing a movie like, I know I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but like The Doors with Val Kilmer, comparing that movie to maybe something like Bohemian Rhapsody or Elvis. There's just the small details that matter.
And one more thing before we get out of here is they could have easily made this like a stereotypical Elvis movie, like an impression. And they just didn't do that. They wanted to pay respect to the man, to the legend, what Elvis is, and the Austin Butler was able to embody that in a performance that I think all of us could agree is probably one of the best performances of the year. So
it'll be interesting to see everybody's star rating, and to see where this movie maybe line up with everybody's top 5 plus 5 of 2022. Edward, we'll start with you. Star rating for Elvis.
I'm going to have to go ahead and give it an 8. Strong 8. Liked it. Will watch it again. Have watched it more than once. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give this movie a 9. Just on the fact of, it's fun music to listen to. The performances are out of this world. For a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, it just zooms by because of how detail-oriented this film is. Like I said, it's fun to watch. Go check it out. HBO Max. It's worth the entire 2 hours and 20 minutes. Zach?
I'm gonna agree with Ed. It's a strong 8. I like the first time I watched it, I was not let down, but just kind of interesting that they chose the Colonel Parker route of telling the story. But in the rewatch, I understand why they do that. Like I said, Austin Butler's awesome. Tom Hanks, he is what it is. But overall, I think Baz Luhrmann did an awesome job with this, and it'll be interesting to see if this makes anyone's best of the year list. So,
Craig?
I'm gonna give it an 8. I think Austin Butler and his portrayal was amazing. I think the score, the sound, the costume design, all of that was amazing. I just think Tom Hanks kind of pulled it down a little bit. I think some of the how quick they went through some things and how they stuck around on some other things kind of I just wish there were some other things that were focused on a little bit, but it's not a perfect movie, but I do think there are elements of this film that are really good. So I'm going to give it a solid 8.
Yep.
Nice. So overall, I think Elvis, we all agree that it was at least worth a watch of 2022. And I do say, everybody who did not join us yesterday, obviously for some reasons, that was on my end. Appreciate you guys for watching us here on this Tuesday evening, talking about Elvis, first episode of the year, episode 226. I'm excited for what this year might be. Again, everything is looking and sounding different. But I think, for everybody who's always been with us and is used to the 2-hour episodes, honestly, this is going to be an introduction to life is short. Everybody's out there who's listening to us are in it for two things, the top 5 and the movie review. So we know that your life is busy. So if you want to put us on for an hour and escape your worries and your troubles and whatever else might be out there that's tackling you down, we enjoy coming on here and hanging out with you for an episode and talking movies with you. Next week is another easy watch. It's another easy find. Go check it out on Netflix. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, and a standing cast. I heard it's one of the best movies of the year. Me personally, I have not seen it yet. I can't wait to go watch it.
What?
Knives Out was one of my favorite movies of 2019, so I can't wait to check this one out. Before we get out of here, you guys excited for Glass Onion next week?
Yeah.
Has anybody watched? Oh, okay, Ed's already watched it twice. Craig, have you seen it yet?
My boy.
I don't even want to watch it for next week.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm just kidding. I'll watch it and I'll probably enjoy it when I watch it. But
we'll see.
I think so.
I haven't seen it yet either, so I think it should be a fun episode. Next week's top 5, we'll announce it soon. But until then, anybody else have any final thoughts on this week's episode of Elvis?
Man, just glad to be here. Glad to have the show. Glad to have you guys. Hopefully it goes better in the new year. We'll see.
Go HBO Max it up for Elvis.
HBO Max it up for Elvis. Craig, do you have any final thoughts on Elvis?
Elvis has left the building.
There you go, guys.
There
Thank you for joining us for this first episode of Elvis. Next week, we'll talk to you guys for a new episode next Monday, January the 9th, for Glass Onion right here on a new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Later.